old faces, new faces, and of course, ghost faces. All this and more on Scarifier.
Scarifier.
Hello, all you horror junkies, and welcome to Scarifier. I'm your host, the Gov.
And I'm Quinn. And before we begin our episode, guys, if you have seen the new Scream movie, no spoilers, go ahead and tweet us what you thought about it. Our handle is at ScarifierPod. ScarifyerPod. Give us a shout. Let us know what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. We want to hear from you guys.
It's a new year. It's a new Scarifier. How you doing, Quinn?
I'm so excited about this. I'm not even kidding.
How's 2022 treating you so far?
It's still early, and I'm really afraid because people pointed out to me 2022, like part
As
2.
well,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, Betty White died, and then Bob Saget.
Yeah.
So, like, we're already off to a horrible beginning, but
It's 2016 again in terms of celebrity deaths.
I know. I feel like I should have, like, a helmet to go through the year.
But now that we've thoroughly depressed you, let's get on
Let's
to
do
the
a pick-me-up.
Yeah, let's get on to the good stuff of Scarifier, which I'm being serious when I say it's a new Scarifier. We got some new stuff coming at you. We're trying some new formats. We got a whole new vibe, brand new look coming at you. And
We're
just
pretty now.
Exactly. And one of those new things is actually an old thing made new once again. We're going to go back to the newsroom at the Scarifier news desk. All right, today's news comes to you directly from bloodydisgusting.com. Take precaution. This is beginning of the week news, so if something juicier comes out or there are fresher takes on these articles come out, my bad.
Let us know.
But first on the docket is Marvel's Morbius gets a mockbuster treatment with Asylum's Dracula, the original vampire. That trailer just dropped. Billed as being the classic tale as you've never seen it. The Asylum's upcoming horror movie Dracula, the original living vampire, is being marketed as the company's mockbuster take on Sony's upcoming Morbius, with the Marvel movie finally headed to theaters on April 1st. The cast includes the ever-reliable in sci-fi and horror Michael Ironside as Dr. Jack Seward, Jake Herbert as Count Dracula, Christine Prouty as Amelia Van Helsing. We're going that route again, it looks like. India Davies as Mina Murray, and Ryan Woodcock as Jonathan Harker. Have you ever seen these Asylum mockbusters?
No, I've avoided them for a reason.
They're actually really entertaining.
Are they really?
In a so bad they're good.
Oh, you got me really excited for like half a second, and then you just back to 2022 again.
So if you feel like you want to watch a mockbuster first, head over and check out Asylum's Dracula, the original living vampire, with top billing going to Michael Ironside. The trailer is out now.
Again, if anybody else sees this, let us know. We want to know what you think of it.
Scream actor Jamie Kennedy shares his thoughts on the new Scream movie in a 30-minute spoiler video that has just hit YouTube. His first reaction is it's fantastic. Jamie Kennedy, I don't know if you follow him on YouTube. He has a really thriving podcast channel on YouTube. So I am very interested to hear what he has to say about the new Scream.
Well, he was one of the originals, and he was kind of like a staple of the first two, so...
The actor would go on to say that it's just done perfectly. I don't know if you could execute it any better.
Wow.
So, this new Scream movie that, of course, we're talking about today has the stamp of approval by Jamie Kennedy, one Randy Meeks.
Nice.
And we're going to keep on screaming with our last news bulletin, which is Scream is a massive box office hit, slashes into a 35 million plus opening 4-day weekend.
Wow.
It is a massive success. Paramount and Spyglass Media Group are celebrating a monster hit with the franchise revealed by director of Radio Silence taking the reins from horror master Wes Craven. The grosses have already toppled Scream 4's $18.6 million.
Wow.
Yes.
I feel like it deserves it, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
And of course, the big thing to take away from that is it dethroned Spider-Man No Way Home at the box office.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, it's not making more money than that movie. I think it's going to be very difficult for a horror movie.
It's going to be hard to compete with
that.
Yeah, especially anything with the Marvel name on it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it did kick it out of the number 1 spot. Scream 2022 is resting high on its throne at the box office.
We feel now is the best time to tell you that Scarify are proud supporters of Rue Morgue. Rue Morgue is the world's leading horror and culture and entertainment brand, spearheaded by its multiple award-winning magazine, Rue Morgue and Rue Morgue Digital. But if reading's not your thing, that's okay, because there's Rue Morgue TV, the official YouTube channel, as well as Rue Morgue Cinema, which produced the acclaimed original film, The Last Will and Testament of Rosalind Lee. So head over to RueMorgue.com and subscribe to Rue Morgue Magazine for your bi-monthly slice of horror culture and entertainment today.
All right, no more wasting time. It's time to get into the reason why everyone is here. We're talking about what everyone is talking about, the new Scream. And, of course, spoiler warnings. By the time this episode airs, it's going to be a week into theaters. We figure that's plenty of time for everyone to get out there and check this flick out. But if you haven't, stop now, go watch it, and then come right back to us. I don't know. I was not really too amped for this movie. I'm going to start right off the bat and say that I wasn't too amped for this film because I was a little bit let down by Scream 4.
So you had feelings that it would be lackluster or?
Well, honestly, my whole thing is the contrivance. I'm like, okay, they're going back and they're doing another Scream, which they've been teasing since Scream 4, even when Wes Craven was still alive. Him and Kevin Williamson have been teasing on and off for the past 10 years that there's going to be a 5th entry in Scream, and it's going to bring back, of course, the trio, the legacy characters. But my whole thing was how can you possibly keep bringing these people back? Are they that innately stupid to keep traveling back to Woodsboro, or they just can't escape this ghost face killer and stuff like that? Jump ahead a little bit. I was pleasantly surprised with this film. What did you think of it?
I actually loved it. I was a little bit worried that they were going to kind of do the trend in Hollywood where they almost do a shot-for-shot remake. Or something pretty close.
You thought this was going to be a remake, or
kind of?
Did the title fool you?
No,
it was the title, wasn't it? Which I want to get into the title. By the way,
I know. But no, I was worried that they were going to do what Hollywood tends to do. Let's be honest, where they tell the exact same story, just with slightly different characters.
They. You can reference anything, insert reference here. Force Awakens, Halloween 2018.
Exactly.
Which the movie ends up doing.
No, exactly. But I was really surprised with it. It was a fresh new story. It was an interesting story. Mm-hmm. It was very respectful of its past films, and it makes fun of itself, which is something very rare that you can find, first of all, in media nowadays. Mm-hmm. Second of all, in horror films.
Right.
Has that perfect balance of both horror, comedy, and scare factor, which is a really, really thin rope to be walking on.
Sure.
And they pull it off beautifully. I think Wes Craven would have been very impressed by this film.
And that's the main thing to take away from it. They touted this movie as being a very respectable tribute to the man himself, Wes Craven, and they
do it so
nailed
well.
that.
Yeah.
He is all over in spirit, in terms of spirit. He is all over this film. Mm. There's so many tributes. There's so many nods and winks and
there's
Easter
even
eggs and
Elm
stuff
Street
like that.
in the movie.
Sure. And I'm sure there's even more Easter eggs that we haven't even noticed.
Yeah,
and
definitely worth a rewatch to try to pick things apart.
Yeah, if you guys want to tweet at us some of those Easter eggs that you caught that we probably didn't,
we want to
because
see them.
I'm not good at picking up on those things because I'm so enamored, especially if the movie's good. And this movie was good.
It was.
I get so immersed in the story that I'm not looking for these little things and stuff like that. But I was pleasantly surprised. I did not know how I was going to be going into this film. If you are a fan of the show, you know we take Scream very seriously.
Yes.
It's Quinn and I are 90s kids, so this was our franchise. I made the point to her after seeing it that our favorite franchises, we love the Halloween franchise, sure. We love, my personal favorite is the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, the Friday the 13th franchises, the Chucky franchise, you name it. We have a little bit of a disconnect because we didn't grow up watching those movies.
Watching the start of it take off.
Scream is our franchise.
Yeah, we got to see it.
We got to see it from beginning to now. I'm not going to say end because I don't think this is the end.
Oh, no, this is not the end. This is a whole new level of what they're about to do with this franchise, I believe.
I do want to get into all the positives about this movie, but if I'm true to myself, I do got some nitpicks. Hey, it's me, it's the Gov. So I'm going to pass it over to you, and I want to hear what you liked about this before I dive in.
Okay, buckle up, guys. So one of the things I also was very impressed by this movie is how they were able to keep what we remember from the original Scream movies, but also were able to incorporate elevated horror elements. How we were able to kind of tie the two bridges together without making it messy.
Right.
So that was very impressive.
Well, they mentioned that too.
No, exactly.
One of the lead characters say that she prefers Tara. The character of Tara prefers elevated horror versus slashers, which she found to be, I guess, weak and, you know.
But it's also nice because that's a generation thing.
It is. I feel like today's generation of horror moviegoers want more than just a guy in a mask, and that's what they were.
They want meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really nice to see that, bring it together, because let's be honest, with the horror genre, we're all under the same umbrella. We're all one big horror family. You know, whether it's elevated horror or slashers or psychological horror that you're into, we're all under the same umbrella. So it was really nice to see that nod to other types of horror. But man, this movie is brutal. Oh my gosh, this movie is so aggressive. It's not suggestive or anything like that. You see every attack, every hit, everything. This movie grabs you the second it starts.
That was one of my positives too. This may sound like one of the stupidest things you'll ever hear on this show, but the Ghostface killer was really mean. He was really mean, and what I mean is that he was very aggressive.
Yeah,
he wanted
almost like
death.
Michael Myers type level of I don't care who it is, I'm taking you out.
And again, that kind of goes to the theme of requels that's all over this movie, like the new Halloween films, where Michael Myers is particularly aggressive. So is Ghostface in this.
Mm-hmm. No, I absolutely loved it. I've never heard an audience in a theater gasp as much as I did this movie. I mean, I was finding myself with my jaw on the floor. It's just one thing after another, and I loved it because it's that action right from the beginning that grabs my attention. I'm okay with build-up,
right?
But I hate when they take too long, so that was bonus points on this one.
Which they make fun of, too. The scene with, what's his name? Judy Hicks' son, where they keep teasing what's around the corner and they keep building the music and the music swells up and stuff like that, and then there's nothing there. And you think that the joke runs on for too long, but I don't. I thought, because they were clearly making a joke of it, you expect it to happen, and then they're like, yeah, there's nothing behind that door. There's nothing in the hallway.
The movie's very conscious of itself. It's very self-aware.
It really doubles down on that self-aware satiricalness that we really haven't had since the first one.
No, exactly. That's the whole point of it. I feel like the sequels in this franchise kind of lost that a little bit. And this one just brings it right back.
Some of the negative criticisms that I've read say that I shouldn't be laughing at a Scream movie, and I thoroughly disagree. That's exactly what you should be doing. You should be laughing and screaming at a Scream movie.
Well, they always say there's a fine line between being scared and laughing.
Absolutely.
You know, there is a very fine line. And I can respect the people who find that line and pull it off well.
Mm-hmm.
How they brought the trio back, how do you feel about that? Because I thought it was great.
Honestly, I couldn't think of another way.
Really?
Because I couldn't think of another way because, again, it goes, like I said in the beginning of this episode, it goes to the what I have problem with these sequels is the contrivances to get Sidney, Gale, and Dewey back to fight another Ghostface killer and
Dewey
stuff like
never
that.
left.
If anyone was to stay in Woodsboro, it would be Dewey because they did establish in the franchise that that's where he belongs. So that's where his roots are playing and stuff like that. The unfortunate side of it is Dewey is a shell of himself. He has separated from Gale, and he resigned from the police force. He retired from the position of sheriff of Woodsboro, in his words, because they asked him to, which can only mean one thing. And he's just drinking himself day in and day out and stuff like that. So it was really tough to see him kind of sink to this level, especially everything he's been throughout these movies.
I will say I was kind of surprised about that because I never really saw the Dewey character as a quitter. You know, I never saw him as the kind that would like give up. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what they did with him.
He did, and it's self-loathing that brings him to that point, because as we'll find out going into introducing Gale in the film, she is the total antithesis of what she was in Scream 4. She's very successful. She's not a struggling writer trying to figure out her next big break. She's actually the host of Good Morning America. And she is the correspondent in New York, and she's very successful and she's the thriving Gale Weathers that we kind of missed.
It's kind of like all her dreams came true.
It's everything she wanted.
Yeah.
You know, and like in Scream 3 when she was chasing the 60 Minutes 2 position and stuff like that. And then you got Sidney Prescott, who I probably liked the most in terms of progressions. She's moved away. Far away from Woodsboro. She started a family with, surprisingly, I figured out on the way home after watching this, they mentioned her husband's name is Mark.
Bum, bum, bum.
As in Mark Kincaid from Scream 3. Dr. McDreamy himself, Patrick Dempsey.
But I think that was good because I feel like Sidney definitely deserves
I liked it.
that.
I liked it.
After all the shit she's been
They
through.
did have a connection in Scream 3, I feel like, and they did kind of lead us to believe that they might end up together.
Yeah.
And they just kind of drop him in Scream 4. They don't mention him. They
No.
don't even mention if she's married or not and stuff like that.
Right.
But in this Scream, she is married with children and her husband, Mark. So I did like that.
Yeah, no, Sidney got a happy ending, which I'm very, very pleased about. Mm-hmm. One thing I would like to touch on is, again, spoilers, people. Dewey's death.
Dewey's death. Well, I do want to stick a pin in Dewey's death. We can talk about it now in terms of, because you originally asked what got them back, and this is what got them back.
No, exactly.
It was but Dewey's death is
what
on
did
my
it.
list of nitpicks.
Oh my God.
So I'm gonna carve into Dewey's death, if you will, in a minute. But this is the catalyst that brings Gale and Sidney back.
Well, Gale was already there.
Gale
Gale was already there. It's what brought Sidney back.
Yeah, Gale came back because Dewey texted her that the Ghostface killings are starting up again. I also like how they did this, like every 10 years there's a copycat, because this would be 10 years from Scream 4.
Yeah.
So I like this almost like they almost expect this every decade.
Yeah.
That somebody's going to go nuts and
do
this
something
poor
like this.
town.
I know.
How does it have anybody?
I have no idea.
But that's ultimately what brings our trio back together. And it definitely is their call to action in the movie.
Yeah.
A couple other legacy characters that show up in this. We have the reappearance of Officer Judy Hicks, which I found surprising that we brought her back.
Yeah.
I thought I really thought they were going to distance themselves as much as possible from Scream 4. Not that Scream 4 was really bad.
Right.
It was a very polarizing film because a lot of people had waited for it, and I don't think it served up what it promised to serve up, and it's especially more heart-wrenching knowing that it was Wes Craven's last film.
Well, the only thing is that I can say about bringing her back, it would make sense because the movie was 10 years ago, so people would remember
We're
her.
going to draw
So
more connections
You
to it,
kind of
absolutely.
almost had to.
Yeah.
Almost, you know.
And her natural character progression is that she's now the new sheriff,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the successor to Dewey. But these are not the only legacy characters that made a return. Now,
Nope.
is it?
Nope. And
We
will
had a
say
surprise return, didn't we?
we did, and it's
not Stu.
No,
It's
it
not Stu.
totally flipped everyone on their head, and I thought that was absolutely great. No, it is not Stu, but instead, one of our main characters, Sam, is suffering from hallucinations from none other than Billy Loomis.
Yep. The return of Skeet Ulrich
And it
to
was
the franchise.
great. It was so good.
Now, I had heard a while ago when they were in production that they reported that Skeet Ulrich was on set and that he was set to appear in the movie. I assumed, like probably everyone else on the planet did, it was flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not how they use him.
No, they use him beautifully.
Major spoiler coming ahead.
He is supposed to be Sam's biological father, which is one of the reasons why she struggles with hallucinations of him. It's that conflict of, I came from a homicidal maniac. How could I be associated with this monster? Which is what ultimately ties her into this whole plot point. One of the things that I absolutely loved about his performance, it's like he didn't miss a beat. He was right back into it.
He was really good. You know, and another example of the de-aging effects used properly.
Yeah.
Because they digitally made him look like how he was at the end of the original first Scream.
Back in 1996.
Yikes.
I feel
No,
old.
I was pleasantly surprised with how they handled it because the whole movie is shaped around this idea of a requel, both literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
So as you pointed out, it could have fallen into the trappings of like your Star Wars Force Awakens or
Yeah.
your Halloween 2018, where they just remake
Which
the
is-
first movie with different characters.
Which, to be fair, is very easy to do.
Which is what I liked, that they not only skirted around that, but they made mention of it. Again, going back to the self-awareness satire, they do the rant, and there's so many connections to the other movies. Two of the main characters we find out are Randy Meeks's niece and nephew.
Yep.
From Martha, the sister we met.
It was
in
nice to
Scream-
see her again.
Yeah, with the sister we met in Scream 3. It's this movie was very well written. The writers, the directors, they all did their homework, and it was really impressive.
Yeah.
And the movie unfolds like a Scream movie would. There's another Ghostface killer knocking off these teenagers one at a time, and these teenagers just happen to be connected to the legacy characters one way or another.
Exactly.
You got the one character, Amber, who lives in Stu Macher's house. That's why we get our climax at the end. We got Randy's niece and nephews, and then we have Billy's illegitimate child
Yup.
in Sam Carpenter. Yes, Carpenter. Get it? And the first person who gets attacked is her
sister. Yes.
That's what kickstarts this roller coaster.
Yeah.
With that, I'm going to get into my nitpicks. And I'm going to start right there with the character of Sam Carpenter, the illegitimate child of Billy Loomis. I have zero problem implicating and revealing that Billy Loomis had an illegitimate child.
I mean, it makes sense.
Billy was horny as fuck
Yeah.
in the first movie. So the idea that he cheated on Sydney and got somebody else
It's
pregnant,
not that far-fetched.
that is not far-fetched. That is not a stretch at all. I am not surprised. My problem with this, I feel like this should have been something that was kind of unraveled as the movie went along. Instead, they give it a exposition dump in the hospital.
Yeah, but see, I don't agree with that because that's part of the whole point as to how they figure out Ghostface is specifically targeting these people for this purpose. So
I feel
you
like
had to.
I feel like it should have been a secret that she kept as long as she could, and then you have somebody maybe like Dewey figure it out before he dies, and that's a big reveal moment before he dies.
No, because then it wouldn't explain her hallucinations.
But that's the thing is like because I thought when they first show her hallucination, she's in she's like in a commissary or a bathroom at the hospital.
It's the break room, the lunchroom.
Yeah, and she sees Billy through a reflection. Typical hallucination, schizophrenic trope. She sees him and he talks to her and he's like saying, "You can't deny your psychotic nature," yada yada. He pretty much mind fucks her.
Yeah.
And he also makes mention those psychotic pills aren't as strong as they used to be and all that good stuff. And then she ultimately gets attacked by a ghost face.
Yeah.
Now, I thought it would be way more interesting is if, one, we are left with why is she imagining Billy Loomis? What if she was like an obsessed fan or somebody who
No, 'cause
was
that goes against her
obsessed with the
character.
Billy Loomis killings and all that stuff, and she's just imagining them because she's already psychotic. And also, the ghost face who attacked her, what if he wasn't really there? What if it was the inner workings of her mind struggling with its sanity?
Okay, now that would have been good. I'll give you that.
I thought that's what we had. I thought that's what they gave us. But literally the next scene, she goes into her sister's hospital room. Spoiler, her sister doesn't die in the opening, which is also kind of subverting expectation. You expect her to die.
No, but that's the whole point.
She's essentially the Casey Becker of the movie to kickstart the
whole
horror.
thing.
But she doesn't die. She survives it. And she just exposition dumps all over her. By the way, I found this journal in Mom's attic. I'm really the daughter of Billy Loomis, and I'm the reason why our family is completely broken and all that stuff. She just dumps it out, and I'm like, okay, would have loved to have that kind of unravel as the movie goes on.
See, I don't agree because that's the whole point of this movie. That is the whole point of why Ghostface is attacking certain people.
I understand why that's the whole point, but you don't have to just spoon feed it to the audience right away.
I don't see anything wrong with it.
Well, then I think you're fucking wrong.
And I think you're stupid.
Well, I will agree to disagree on that one. I think they could have kept the movie as is. They just didn't have to just give it to us right away.
I mean,
And that's the catalyst for them trying to find these killers. Oh, we got to find who's attacking Billy's illegitimate child. Another nitpick.
oh God, he's on a roll.
Now I'm on my roll, and it's going back to before Dewey's death. I don't know if I like how they did Dewey.
Why?
Well, first of all, let me say right off the bat, I knew he was going to die. I think everybody,
everyone knew.
I think everybody knew he was going to die. I don't think this surprised anybody, and it became more of a question of like, are they going to do it right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they did it right.
How not?
Because I maybe it's just my own personal bias. I don't really like seeing Dewey in this position where, as you put it, he gave up. He totally just threw in the towel and gave up.
But on the other hand, you can look at it as his redemption. He made sure that Sam and Tara were safe.
Yeah, but it's almost. I don't think there was enough time for it to be a redemption because he didn't really he didn't reconnect with Sydney at all. Yeah, he had a phone call with her.
Right.
He had a interaction with Gail, which was essentially him feeling sorry for himself because he left her, which I was surprised with. I thought for sure,
yeah.
knowing Gail Weathers, I'm like, she probably got too big for him and she bailed. No, they moved to New York so she could have her career and he couldn't hack it, and he left in the middle of the night without a word. That doesn't seem like Dewey to me.
That was out of character. I'll give you that. But again, I do like how Dewey went out in the sense of your ghost face killer stabbing him in the front and the back effectively Mortal Kombat style.
Make sure he can't live through this.
Exactly. And the words that were so haunting, this is an honor. That stuck with me.
No, it is impactful.
That was badass.
I will say that. It's absolutely impactful. And I like the way he literally goes out. I just don't know if I like the lead up to
the
it.
The manner of it.
Yeah, because you say it's a redemption arc. And, and it is, but it's also kind of a death wish. He's at his lowest freaking point possible. And it almost comes across of, I have nothing else. This is the only thing I can do, is I can go back out there and try to find another one of these killers. And yes, he does let the two sisters go, and he stays behind to make sure he's dead. And of course, he's not dead, and he meets his demise because of it. Yes, noble self-sacrifice. But to see Dewey at this such a low point, I don't know if I liked it. I feel like Dewey deserves way more than that. And also, you don't get your Han, Luke, and Leia moment that was denied by Disney's Star Wars in this movie, because he's dead before Sydney enters the film.
Yeah.
Again, yes, they had a phone call, but you'll never see the three of them on screen together again. However, we did get that in Scream 4, so...
So then that was our final nod to the trio being together.
Right.
But I don't see anything wrong with it, but that's just me.
At this point, Sidney Prescott has probably killed just as many people as all the iterations of the Ghostface Killer.
Let's be honest.
At this point.
Sidney Prescott is a badass.
However,
you don't want to make her mad.
With that statement I just gave, did you notice she didn't kill anyone in this film, which I thought was really brave.
No, but that's good, because it is a passing of the torch, genuinely.
It is.
Because they even ask Sam, she's like, are you guys insane? You know, you want to help me kill someone? And they're like, yep.
Yep.
Because it's her job now. It is on her.
Yeah.
And they know that. You know? You don't see really Sydney in full-on live or die mode, but she's there for a purpose.
And I thought it was really interesting, like, when her and Gail get into the car and they're like, okay, we're going to go kill him. Like, they're so confident. They know, they almost, like, know how this is going to pan out because they've been through it so many times. They know they're going to be standing at the end.
Yeah, no, exactly.
To which is another nitpick is the ending, before the obvious nitpicks about the ending. I will say, when the killers reveal themselves and they reveal their master plan in Stu's kitchen, again, huge nod to the original film. I did not believe them for 1 second when they said that this is the one movie or requel or sequel that you won't make it out of. I'm like, yes, you will.
Yes, you will.
She's
Sidney fucking Prescott.
That's the only problem, is I didn't believe it for one iota.
Like, seriously.
Gail, maybe. Her, no. No way. She's going to make it out of it.
And Gail, once again, was shot.
She's
hanging out on the lawn.
Yeah, she's been shot in the ribs just as many times as Dewey's been stabbed.
I know.
What'd you think about the killers?
Oh, my God. All right, so that is something I'm a little bit picky about, because if you pay very close attention, you can figure it out. It's sadly obvious. I was a little surprised, but the more I got thinking about it, I was like, no, you can tell here and you can tell here, and without dwelling on it too much. But so our killers are killing in the name of trying to redeem these like reboot ideas or sequel ideas, talking about service for the fans of originality. And to me, I feel like they kind of made it too obvious who it was. I mean, I could be totally wrong.
Well, I can say this. I figured it out. And I figured it out pretty early in the film, just based on what certain characters say and certain characters did. For instance, the main killer is Richie, which is Sam's boyfriend. And they make mention that in a requel, it usually ties back or has similarities to the first one. And Dewey
calls it out.
Dewey points out that we got to suspect this Richie guy because it's always the love interest in the original.
Yeah.
And then you got the flip side out of that, who is Amber, who's very close to the character of Tara, Sam's sister, she's our second killer, and they give that pretty much give it away right off the bat in the hospital.
I was about to say, Ghostface basically says it, because if you listen to the way she talks to Sam and what Ghostface says when he's chasing Tara, you can put it together. Basically, the exact same wordage is, you're a piece of shit who doesn't care about your sister.
And then if you couldn't figure out that it was Richie based on what Dewey says, typical setup. The Ghostface attacks, and Richie gets his hand sliced versus anything bad happening to him.
Well, and on the other hand, they're talking about original, so of course it's got to be the love interest. So if you put 2 and 2 together, you know. Exactly.
So the motive essentially boils down. This is probably and everybody on the internet is bitching about the killers and their motives. And I can see why everyone is declaring this the weakest part of the movie. Their motive is essentially toxic fandom.
Yeah, toxic fandom. I don't get it. I think that there is such thing as toxic fandom, but the problem is, in certain aspects, I feel like it's just a weak excuse that studios have when things don't pan out the way that they think. But in the instance of this movie, are they saying that... I'm really echoey. Are they saying that fans are the reason why these things don't work and fans are mentally unhinged? Is that what they're saying? Are they like slapping us in the face?
No, I disagree with that entirely. Yes, that is the allegory, and that is
it feels like they're making fun of the fans.
You know, that's one way you could take it, but that's not how I took it, because this is the Scream franchise. It's self-satirical, it's meta. So I took at that toxic fandom is to this film as what horror movie obsessed, us was to the first movie, because Billy and Stu were so obsessed with horror movies that it, quote, unhinged their mind. Now, I don't think that implies that any person who loves horror movies deep down is a psychotic. It's commentary. It's social commentary.
Social commentary for what?
Okay.
Seriously. No, think about it for a second. Mm-hmm. They're talking about how toxic fandom is the root of the problem of these movies. They're basically saying anybody who whines about, and they even name movies like the Star Wars franchise, for example.
Yeah.
Toxic fandom is what ruined it.
Yeah.
And that's what these characters are saying.
Yeah, but who's saying that? The characters or the studio?
I think both.
No, because I disagree. And the reason why is because you can't ignore toxic fandom. It does exist.
No, it does exist, but
it's written off. The problem with studios is they write it off as an excuse. When their movie bombs and it's shitty because it's shitty and it's not giving the fans what they want, they write it off as toxic fandom.
No, but that's exactly what it is. So what I have a problem with is they're talking about, we care about the franchise and we care about the originality, and when we complain, we're considered toxic fandom. That's what they're saying. No, that is exactly what Amber says. She says you can't complain about a movie without being labeled as toxic fandom. So it almost feels like a slap to fans. To a degree, in my opinion.
Well, Amber is the contemporary Stu. She does it for peer pressure, and she even says it. She goes, I don't want to do this, but the fans are just so mean, and that's why she is a part of this concocted real life requel to give the fans, quote unquote, what they really want.
So then that is a perfect example. That is a perfect example of saying that fans are the negative impact.
No,
fans are so mean. You just said it even right there. The fans are so mean.
Yeah, but that goes back to what I was saying about it does exist. Okay? It does exist, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. It does exist.
I don't deny that it exists.
But it's such a small demographic. It's such a less than 1% demographic. The demographic of people who watch horror movies and they unhinge their already psychotic minds to go kill people. They do exist. But it's not implying that that is the entire universe. That's these two individuals, in both case of Billy and Stu and Richie and Amber, that they're already fucked in the head, and they're really just looking for an excuse to kill people, which is what Sydney said to Roman in Scream 3. She says, I'm tired of these excuses. I've heard it all before. You kill people because you want to. There's no other reasons. You can't blame the movies, Mickey. You can't blame anything else but yourselves. And I feel like this did the same thing.
I'm not saying that like toxic fandom isn't out there. What I'm saying is the way that they played it off.
You can take it, I suppose it depends on how you look at it. You could take it as a slap to the face because it's a part of your fandom.
No, but that's the thing, is it does feel like a slap in the face because it feels like what they're saying is toxic fandom is what's crushing these films, and people are going to be such sticklers for these things that they're like unhinged.
I disagree.
Almost like a bullying type idea.
No, they're commenting on something that's current, just like Scream 4 did. Social media and breaking out on social media, becoming the next YouTube star or the next TikTok star, Instagram, what the hell ever you want to list here. That was big 10 years ago. That's what everybody wanted. You don't have to be talented anymore. You just have to have fucked up shit happen to you, as Jill pointed out, which was very true. That's what was on everybody's mind. That was in society. That was embedded. That's what everyone in terms of pop culture wanted. Just like fandoms. That's what everybody's talking about. If a movie is successful or not successful, it all comes back to fandoms because we don't have originality anymore. It's all about franchises and the fandoms that follow it. Now, if you're a part of the fandom and you roll with it, you're fine. But if you oppose it at all, you get labeled toxic. That's not what the film is saying. They're not having Nev Campbell turn to the screen and pointing Reefer Madness style and say, "You."
That'd be extremely creepy.
But that's not what happens. I feel like just like the other Scream movies, they're taking a social commentary and putting it on the screen.
Yeah, but again, it just feels like the way that they did it just kind of felt like they were like smacking people in the face a little bit.
I didn't take it that way. But don't take my word for it. If you took it that way, please let us know in the comments or tweet at us if you thought that it was intact or if it was just meta social commentary. But that's laced throughout the entire movie. You know how badly I wanted to bitch about this title? And if you notice, I haven't bitched about the title. You want to know why? Because they do what Scream is supposed to do. They're self-aware. They make fun of the fact that they just don't have creative titles. So in one regard, they did it on a marketing standpoint, which is, let's just call the thing Scream because it's easier and it's relatable, just like Halloween did in 2018. But in the movie, they make fun of the fact that this Stab requel that's coming out, they just call it Stab. And they're like, why can't you just call it Stab 8? Why are you that unimaginative and uncreative? I loved it. So I can't make fun of the fact that this movie is just called Scream.
Because they already did it for you.
Because they beat me to it.
They already did it for you.
But I will say this about the ending. The killers were weak. You saw them coming, and when they tried to do their big, let me reveal my ingenious plan to you and look how crazy I am, I thought it was trying a little too hard. Nothing against the actors, but I feel like they were trying to be.
I think they were both trying to be Stu.
I feel like they watched a little too much Matthew Lillard.
Yeah.
And only Matthew Lillard could do it the way he could do it. I mean, even Fantastic, Timmy Olyphant couldn't capitalize on that. Laurie Metcalf could, though.
Laurie Metcalf is an impressive and terrifying woman.
So, with that, nothing left to do but to rate this. So, Quinn, 1 out of 5. Where did Scream 2022 land?
I will give it a 4.5. 4.5. Again, just killer reveal was a little disappointing. Mm-hmm. So that takes it down a notch for me. But everything else I absolutely loved. I think that's the only thing that I can pick on this film about. is just that was a little disappointing how that was kind of almost like it spoiled itself type idea.
Yeah.
But everything else was great. I loved it.
I could literally go on and on about what I liked about this movie, way longer than this episode can contain. But I will give it a little lesser grade. I'm going to give it a 3.8 out of 5. My criteria for films, as you know, are very difficult. It's impossible, in my opinion, to get a 5 out of me, because any movie, no matter how great it is, there's always room for improvement somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's pretty difficult for me to rank a 4. But this came close.
Yeah.
This came close, and the reason why it didn't hit that 4 yet is because of the nitpicks I pointed out. It was really weak. The killers was really weak. And something I didn't mention, the jump scares were not there.
No.
There was no jump scares in this film. So that kind of lessened it for me a little bit.
But there's the brutality of it.
It almost makes up for it.
Yeah.
The brutality almost makes up for it. So I'll give it that. And again, there's just something off about Dewey's departure and how he's depicted in this film. I knew it was going to happen, and I, as you said, I love how it was handled when the time came.
Yeah.
But leading up to it, I feel like they could have done way better in terms of a redemption arc, if that's what they were going to do. But this movie was so well made, I was pleasantly surprised. I did not think I was going to like it as much as I did. Way better than Scream 4. And goes without saying with Scream 3 and stuff like that. But
would you rewatch it?
Absolutely, I would.
Really?
But here's the kicker. I don't think it will be as good with many rewatches. I feel like this is one of those movies you should probably revisit every now and then, because I feel like if you watch it too many times, it's the shine is going to wear off.
I can get behind that.
So as much as I do want to watch it again, I'm also reluctant to. But in terms of being a requel and bringing a franchise back with an amazing tribute, this one is just a direct stab into pop culture.
Scarefire has partnered with Notoriously Morbid. Notoriously Morbid has everything you need to get your horror fix, including collectibles, apparel, and more. Their cosmetics line includes beautiful chromes, mesmerizing lipsticks, all in stunning shades. Head over to Notoriously Morbid and enter Scarefire10 at checkout for your 10% discount.
Okay, that's going to do it this week for us here at Scarefire.
All right, guys, if you enjoyed this episode or have anything that you would like to add or dispute or agree, whatever floats your boat, don't forget, get us on Twitter, ScarifierPod, and let us know what you guys think.
And if you like the new format, the new look, the brand new vibe, please let us know. Or if you don't, let us know that too. And we'll catch you next time here on Scarefire.
Scarefire.